trained, and you'll be on your own, flying away with the Victoryland Radio banner right behind you before long, my friend. And your show, ever since we contacted each other, actually, you know what? Your guest is on the line, David. So go right ahead, my friend.
AJ Galante.
Hey, how are you?
How are you, buddy? This is AJ Galante on the phone from Champs Boxing Club and a licensed boxing promoter. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. How's everything with yourself?
Oh, everything's great. Just going to be doing a little boxing talk tonight. You got a lot of things. You've had a lot of things going on over the past year. The number one thing was on May 30th, 2015, you had the Danbury's boxing fight night at the arena downtown. Yes. It was very successful, and just let the audience know a little bit about yourself tonight, AJ.
Oh, well, thank you. Once again, thank you guys for having me. I'm born and raised in Danbury, Connecticut. I got into professional boxing back in 2011, when I was 24 years old, and I started professionally managing Delvin Rodriguez. We had 6 fights together as a boxer manager, and from there, I went on to manage Frank Galarza, pretty big junior welterweight prospect out of Brooklyn. I was with him for 10 fights. And like you said, I promoted Danbury's first ever professional boxing show, Danbury Fight Night, back on May 30th in 2015. And I co-own a boxing gym in Danbury, Danbury's only exclusive boxing gym, Champs Boxing Club, over on East Liberty Street.
That's over at 128 East Liberty Street, and you could be found at champsboxingclub.org and Champs Boxing Club on Instagram and Twitter. So,
yes, that's correct. That's exactly right.
Okay. So all the people in the Connecticut area, local New York area, is there going to be another Danbury fight night? Because I mean, the one you had was it was unbelievable for a small, you could say a small city. And the way it was set up, I mean, it was first class all the way. I mean, you had number one judges. You had a great card from top to bottom. Is there going to be another Danbury fight night?
Well, yeah. I mean, first of all, thank you for the compliment. I definitely appreciate it. It was a dream of mine for years to bring an event like that to Danbury. It's definitely a lot of work. Just a lot of behind the scenes stuff you got to do. And, I get asked all the time, when the next one's going to be and this and that. And, I held an amateur show last month for our kids in Danbury, which was really successful as well. But, I've been itching to get back at it in terms of the pro, maybe bringing another pro show to Danbury. I would love to do it. I'm hoping and thinking maybe sometime early to mid next year. Just different aspects I have to work out. Like I said, it's just a whole lot of planning, and at least to do it the right way. I would never do something unless I'm doing it the right way, and like you said, doing everything first class, and just get the best matchups possible.
Yeah, it definitely was. It definitely was first class. I actually had the opportunity to come early and go. Basically, I walked around the entire place, and I actually watched matches from different areas, and the place was packed. The place was absolutely packed. And one story I wanted to run over on that fight night, I don't know if you knew. I know you know about it now. During the Bonilla Bentley fight, Bentley broke his hand. Were you aware of that?
Yes.
While that was going on? Okay, he got the win.
No, I had no idea. I mean, that was probably the fight of the night, and it was such a great fight. And Oscar was obviously the hometown favorite, and he got the short end of this decision, and I knew Bentley. I had seen Bentley a few times in the Metro New York area fight, and the kid was just super slick. Very very good defensively, good throws a lot of combinations, and I knew it would be a good test for Oscar. And no, I had no idea until after the fight when I ran into his manager that they had taken him to Danbury Hospital for his hand. And, I just think that made it that much more impressive victory for him to be fighting with, a broken hand like that. But no, I definitely had no idea. And if you watch the fight, you definitely wouldn't know he was hurt by the way he was fighting for sure.
Right. And I was actually sitting with his family during that fight. And as you know, the whole place was pro Bonilla, Oscar.
Sure, yep.
And when the fight was over, he walked up to his family and he said, "My hand is broken again." And then a trainer came up and they took him to the hospital. He came back about, I don't know, an hour later, but it was, he got the win. And, I've seen him fight before too, and I was excited about that because I knew that was going to be a test for Bonilla, who hadn't really been tested like that. And, and it's also the second time Bentley has broken his wrist during a fight. Now, the other fight I wanted to mention was the Nate Green, Timur Shalazov fight.
Sure.
Nate Green, it seems like he's a lot older than he is because he came up amateurs and, he's been talked about forever. But I thought putting him in with Shalazov, with Timur, was an excellent match. Like, that was an excellent match. Timur's fought for championships. And Chuck Diesel in Philadelphia, who pushes him, I mean, if you go and actually look at who he's fought and the rounds he's gone with in the championships he's lost to, I mean, that kid is all around. That's why I'm saying, like, the whole card from top to bottom was just great. It was excellent. The Williams Bowles fight was unbelievable.
Yeah, no, I mean, what it is with me is, though I'm a licensed promoter and I only have one pro show under my belt, my goal is whenever I put on a show for it to just be as competitive as possible because, I don't have anybody signed to me on a promotional level. So none of these guys, one of the things that I hate about pro boxing is you got a lot of promoters, you got a lot of, when you go to these cards, you can go to a pro bout card and there could be 10 fights and only 2 of them are maybe 50-50 fights, and those are usually the main and co-main events. Everything else is them moving their guy against a guy who's 7-12 or just a guy just picking up a paycheck, and it's almost turned into pro wrestling where the outcomes are almost predetermined most of the time. And with me, what I think what I knew would make my show a good show was exactly what I said was, everything was so competitive. Most of the fights were 50-50 fights because, quite frankly, I don't have stock in any of the guys. My goal is to put on good shows, give the fans, their money's worth. People pay a lot of money to go to these shows. They want to see competitive bouts. They don't want to see, 4 fights that, go 30 seconds in round 1 where, a promoter's guy blows through somebody. So to me, it was all about putting on competitive bouts. And quite frankly, most of these Connecticut kids, most of them don't have promoters. So they're just itching to fight. And I told them right off the bat, I said, look, if you're going to fight on my show, you're going to fight a tough competitor, because it's beneficial, for a guy like Nate Green, that was a huge win for him. And, if I was his promoter, if I had stock in him, I don't know if I'd put him in a match that tough because, I'm looking to get him, build him up with wins, this and that. I get how the game is played, but, I give Nate a lot of credit for taking the fight. He looked good. He got the win. Unfortunately, he's just so super inactive. It's really a shame because he's an incredible talent, and I just hope that he's able to get more fights in the future.
Yeah, when I saw Shalazov was fighting him, I was I scratched my head at first, like it was, I didn't think with his inactivity, I mean, the name Nate Green has been around Connecticut for a long time. He's not that old. All Connecticut people know that name, boxing world people. So when I saw that was a huge step up, that was a huge step up, because like I said, if you actually look into Shalazov, he has a record. He's fought top guys. So, and also Cassius Chaney was on that card, which was a big deal, because he's, main events is really, pushing him along. And he's actually going to be on the show, the Hollering with Hammer show, coming up sometime this month. His fight, obviously, he was more dominant. That was his first professional fight, or his second professional. I think it was his first at your show. And, that there wasn't much to that fight, but he did what he had to do, and, he showed why he's 7-0 now and starting to step up in competition.
Yeah, no, Cassius, actually, now that I think about it, my show, that was his second fight. He had fought a month earlier. He made his pro debut, I think, a month or so earlier than my show. But main events, I was blessed to be able to have Russell Peltz and Brittany Rogers as my matchmakers, and obviously they have a long history with main events, and Cassius is a very popular guy, and he sells a lot of tickets, and I was able, through my connection with Russell Peltz, to get to main events, and they allowed me to use him on the show, and like I said, that match, there wasn't much to it. Like you said, they're bringing the guy up, but he's got a lot of skills. From what I've seen in pictures, he's leaned out from the last time I saw him, and he takes his fitness very seriously, and the heavyweight division's starting to heat up a little bit, and you know what? He may be able to make some noise, and I hope he does, because outside the ring, he's a great guy. His managers are great people, and he's just a great guy overall. So I wish him much success, and obviously to main events too. They're great people to work with, and
they definitely are.
I see a bright future for him.
Yeah, I do too. He has the talent, and like you said, he's great off the ring. Also, I've had conversations with him. One more thing on Danbury Fight Night. You also had Wellington Romero. Now,
yes,
Wellington Romero's making a name for himself, and his fight, I forgot who he fought. Who did Wellington Romero fight during that? I forgot who he fought. He fought
one of the best B-side opponents. One of these guys with a not so great record, but a guy that comes to fight, a Vincey Dixon, and
yes,
that was a tough fight for him, and a lot of people I know had Dixon winning the fight, to be honest with you. And that kid Dixon, let me tell you something. That's a kid that comes to fight and is one of those B-side guys. He doesn't have a promoter. He doesn't have a great record. He's the type of guy who will get a call, for an injured opponent and come in and shock somebody. He's always in the gym. Great guy out of the ring. He's one of those guys where if he had a backing early on in his career, you wonder where he could have been, because if he had the backing that some of these guys do in terms of management, promotion, if he had that, he would have, trust me, he'd be a brand name, because that kid can fight.
You can also see similarities with Osno Charles. He's another one that brings it. He's another one who brings it. He's been on Broadway boxing a few times, and so, but yeah, that was a great event, and I'm really looking forward to, if you win, you have another Danbury Fight Night. So, is there anybody, I'll change the subject real quick, is there anybody right now that you can think of, amateurs, foreign, anything, that can beat Sergey Kovalev?
Oh, geez, I don't, you know what, it's one of those things where whenever a guy like that, one of the pound for pound guys, whenever they have a fight coming up, it's always when they announce the fight, it's usually, oh, that guy's going to win handedly. But, promoters do such a great job with the opponents. You almost second guess yourself that maybe, hey, I used to do this with Mayweather a lot. Whenever Mayweather would announce a match, I'd say, oh, Mayweather's going to blow him out. But then as the match got closer, you start to think about the opponent. You start to play with your mind and think, hey, this guy actually does have a shot. And then when the fight comes, Mayweather plays games with him, and that's it. It's the same thing with Sergey Kovalev. Whenever they put someone in front of him, you start to double think yourself and think, well, maybe this guy does have a shot, and Kovalev is just, he's just an animal. He's unbelievable. He really is. And I don't know. It's very hard to picture him losing right now. I know there's the talk with the Andre Ward fight and this and that, and I don't know. Andre Ward would be definitely jumping up in weight, and that's definitely a step up in class for him. And he's so inactive, Andre Ward, for the most part, where you don't know if he could really hang with a guy like Kovalev, especially at that weight. So I don't know. I honestly don't see anyone right now beating him. That's just my personal opinion. Everybody's beatable, but right now I really don't see it.
Yeah, he's a dominant force. Now, do you have any opinion on Sullivan Barrera, light heavyweight out of main events? Do you see anything there? He beat Lacey, but Lacey at this point of his career is just in there. Do you see a future for Sullivan Barrera? You know what? It's so hard to tell. I don't know him personally, and I'll admit I haven't watched a whole lot of film on him to really have that good an opinion on him. But anything is possible. You just don't know with some of these guys. It's a lot like I'm a huge fan of baseball, and you get these guys coming up in the minors, and some of them pan out, some of them don't. It's really, unfortunately, with boxing, there's just so much inactivity and so much, there's no set schedules. You just never know who's going to end up making it, consistently. A lot of people didn't think Sergey Kovalev was going to be anything, and look at him now. It wasn't that long ago he was fighting on undercards and off TV, and now look at him. So, a lot of guys are late bloomers. A lot of guys, they get spoiled early and they're in the spotlight early. A guy like Sullivan Barrera, you just never know how. And to be honest, I haven't watched him a whole lot to really give an educated opinion. Okay. Yeah, Kovalev, when he fought in Connecticut, he fought Campillo. I went to see. I was kind of on the fence about Kovalev, but that fight, definitely. And I've seen Barrera a few times. He's being pushed hard. That's why I was just wondering if you had any kind of opinion on him. In AJ Galante's mind right now, who is the best heavyweight, active heavyweight right now?
To be honest with you, if I love the kid Anthony Joshua, in my opinion. Olympic pedigree, amateur background. He's like chiseled out of granite. His body. He takes his work serious. He's very active. I happen to, I know a lot of people think he's hyped, Deontay Wilder. I happen to like Wilder. Obviously when he was fighting, Chris Arreola, I was questioning the performance, believe it or not. I thought he could have been more dominant, but then when I find out all the injuries he had, that made a lot more sense. But, I don't know. Right now, you put any of these guys in front of Anthony Joshua, I think he wins. I think he's going to be a dominant force for a long, long time. I really do.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts on Joseph Parker? Have you been able to watch any of his fights? The kid out of New Zealand?
No, I'm not totally familiar on him, to be honest with you.
Yeah, see, I think if anybody in the next, couple of years here it's gonna be Joshua's, in my opinion. But Joseph Parker is right there. If you ever have a chance to check out a couple of his matches. I mean,
Okay.
he's good. He's got power. He's got the skill, but once again, he's not fighting. He's fighting. He's super active. But the competition level is, it's just not there. What's your personal opinion on Tyson Fury? What's your personal, just on the character, aspect of Tyson Fury?
I happen to love it. I mean, you know what? This is as much as fans don't want to hear it. This is a business, and you know what? Floyd Mayweather is very rich, and it's not because of his fight style. The pure boxing fans like it, but the bottom line is Floyd Mayweather became the modern day Muhammad Ali, and what I mean by that is people paid to watch him win or watch him lose, but they paid to watch him, and he did it with a persona. Money Mayweather, Pretty Boy Floyd, whatever it was. He had a character, and people ate it up. It's very similar to what WWE does. WWE, people want to say wrestling's fake. I think it's the best promotion in the world. They have characters. They know how to push guys. Tyson Fury, he's got a big character, big mouth. And quite frankly, he's got to, look at his record. I mean, he talks the talk and walks the walk for the most part. I think what people like about him is he looks like an everyday guy. He for the most part, he's a little chunky. He looks like an everyday guy. He doesn't look like a pro athlete. And he just looks like an everyday guy. I think it's a fine line when you talk as much as he does, but he does back it up, similar to what Floyd Mayweather used to do. But I happen to love him. I would love to see him in the States more. I'd love to see him with different competition, but I happen to personally love the guy.
Yeah, I personally do too. I like the antics, like you said, with the WWE. I mean, the stuff with him coming out singing the Elvis and all that stuff. It's just
sure.
The stuff he does with the stuff he was doing. Taunting Klitschko. Now, do you take anything? Do you take anything from Shannon the Cannon Briggs at this point? With all the, I mean, he's on the internet, like putting out videos daily. I mean, can you take him serious at this point? I mean, he is physically in unbelievable shape. If you look at him, he's in unbelievable shape. Can you take him seriously at this point?
Hey, listen, at the end of the day, it's all about getting your name out there in this business. I mean, there is so many guys with so much skill, but boxing is such a bipolar sport, and what I mean by that is the fans are bipolar. They want competitive matchups, but then when you give them competitive matchups, well, this guy didn't look that good, or it's a guy like Shannon Briggs. I mean, he's made a name for himself recently with the craziness, with the videos, and you know what? People love that stuff, and I mean, does he beat Klitschko? I don't see it, but you know what? I would watch it because of all this craziness and all that he's been doing. I mean, I for sure would watch it, and I think casual fans would watch it because, like you said, he's doing a lot of things, marketing himself. And, he's a funny guy. He looks in good shape, so he looks the role. The average fan, if you got that look, you know what I mean? They take it serious. And the average fan will say, this guy.
Right, you got to remember he's held a title also, which makes him legit.
Yes.
The stuff that he's doing is unbelievable. I mean, videos he's putting out with David Hay. I don't know if you've been able to see all the videos. It's some of the funniest stuff I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, it's putting yourself out there because that, at the end of the day, that's what gets you to fight. I mean, unfortunately, you could have all these rankings all you want. At the end of the day, it really means nothing. because a lot of these champions are fighting guys out of the top 10, rankings anyway. So rankings don't mean anything. It's whether you sell tickets. It's whether you have eyes on you. And that's really, for better or for worse, boxing is a business. I personally don't like that it's total business, but it is. That's the reality of it. And people want to be entertained. And, that's why guys like Shannon Briggs, they're still alive. And I say alive, meaning he still has a pulse in boxing because of his antics. And, it's the same thing with Tyson Fury. Is Tyson Fury the most fun guy to watch? Boxing wise, I don't know. I don't know. But because he's so unpredictable and you never know what he's going to do, we call them YouTube moments. You never know when a YouTube moment's going to happen when you got a guy like Shannon Briggs or a Tyson Fury or, any of these guys, and people tune in for that stuff.
Right. They should do. Now, tell us a couple of boxers right now that maybe we don't know about that are coming up or maybe already here that are on your radar. Like, who's the guys that you're really hyped about right now?
Well, I like I said, I started, my boxing stuff in the pro level. I've been around a lot of professionals. Now I'm around a lot of amateurs, because of my gym and traveling to different gyms and competitions. You got a kid out of Manchester named Mikey Williams. He's already 3-0. He turned pro a few months ago. He's 3-0. He got signed by DeBella Entertainment. He lives in Manchester. I think he has a serious future. A kid that I absolutely love who's turning pro on September 1st out of Hartford, Anthony Laureano. He's turning pro September 1st, I believe. I just was told. That kid is, if he can stay active, that kid can make some noise because he is fun to watch. I mean, amateur shows aren't for everybody. You don't get the knockouts. You don't, they wear headgear. There's not crazy amounts of damage like in the pro game. But this kid has a pro style. He won. He went to the nationals of. He won the Western New England Golden Gloves. He won the New England Golden Gloves, and this year he went to the National Golden Gloves. And I believe he made it all the way to the semis or the finals at 152 pounds. The kid is a bull. And he is really fun to watch. I believe down the line he's going to be a name that people definitely know. As far as existing pros, active pros right now, there's so many of them. Even though I don't currently officially manage them like I used to, we still stay very close, and I do advise them and help them out here and there. Frank Galarza, my guy Frank, we had a lot of momentum going. He did suffer a loss back this past November, but I think he is going to start making some noise when he makes his return. I believe in September he's coming back. But yeah, there's a lot of guys out there, but I'll tell you what, Connecticut has a very healthy amount of amateurs that are ready to turn pro, and I think you're going to see a lot of pros out of Connecticut over the next year or two.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of people don't know it outside of Connecticut. There's actually a lot of pros here in Connecticut now that are making small noise, in the casino fights and the few non-casino fights in Connecticut, like your Williams out of New Haven, guys like that. I mean, there's a whole bunch of them. There's a big scene. Connecticut has a huge boxing scene, and actually New England itself has a huge boxing scene. So now you co-own Champs Boxing Club with Fernando Feliz Sr.
Yes.
Now he fought Ruiz for a WBA title at the Shriner Auditorium up in Massachusetts. Now he lost that fight, but he's a great fighter. I mean, he fought from 93 to 2008, and he's fought a lot of top guys. I know his last fight was Boystev, who was 21-0 at the time he fought. Fernelli. Now, Fernelli has a son, Fernelli Feliz Jr., and I know he trains out of your gym. What's the deal with him? I've been hearing a lot of hype about him. I've been seeing a lot of videos on the internet with him. Is he the real
I'll tell
deal?
you, let me tell you something. I mean, I've been around, pro and amateur boxing now since 2011. I've been to many gyms, seen many, Fernelli Feliz Jr., mark my words, if he stays dedicated and no health issues, I believe he will be one of, if not the best fighter to ever come out of Connecticut. I know that's a bold statement, but I'm very confident in saying that. I've taken him under my wing. I mean, I've known him since he was, 13, 14 years old, back in 2011 when I was with Delvin Rodriguez. Fernelli Sr. was the trainer. I knew little Fernelli back when he was 14. I'm telling you, I've taken him under my wing. He's 19 years old. He's 8-0, 4 knockouts. We started his amateur career this past January in the Golden Gloves. He blew through the Western New England Golden Gloves. He won the New England Golden Gloves. Unfortunately, there's no national Golden Gloves for novices, but he will get there next year, God willing. He qualified for a national tournament that will be this November. And we just got back from Kansas City, Missouri this past week. He won the Ringside World Championships. He won 3 fights via decision. So he's a Ringside World Champion. Quite frankly, we've talked a lot, and, I've told him that there's no reason why the Olympics in 2020 shouldn't be a reality. And that's basically the goal right now is build him. He's a super heavyweight, which means when he goes pro, God willing, he'll be just, a heavyweight. But quite frankly, the goal is to build him up, get him in every tournament we can, get him sparring, get him the best sparring we can, and just keep him active and, build his body to become a heavyweight body, similar to an Anthony Joshua, a Lennox Lewis, a Vander Holyfield type body. He's just under 6'4". He's about 6'3". He's about 6'3". Right now he's a little heavy. He's 245 pounds. We'd like to get him down to a solid 230 pounds. And I'm telling you, he's a God-given talent. Scary skills for a big guy. I'm very excited about him, and we keep him very focused, and he's the real deal. He will be the real deal if he stays dedicated and motivated. And I'm telling you right now, he's gonna be very special.
Yeah, you got to get after him to do my show. We've been in contact for about a month. So I'd really like to have him on because I watch the videos. I watch all the videos you guys put out. I've seen all the tournament videos, and with a father like his and with the staff you guys have down there at Chance Boxing Club, I know even you got UFC guys down there, don't you? Glover Teixeira, isn't he down there with you guys?
Glover Teixeira. He has his own gym, a UFC MMA gym, but he trains his boxing with Fernelli Sr. At our gym, yes.
Yeah, so your gym, you guys are set up right now. Is there any other amateurs out of your gym right now that you'd like to talk about?
I mean, we got a bunch of guys. I mean,
right there?
Yeah, I mean, we have a bunch of different amateurs. I mean, obviously we have Fernelli Jr. We have a kid, Omar Bordoy, who's 20. I believe he's 20 years old right now. He's got almost 30 fights. He actually came to the Ringside World Championships this past week with us. He lost in the semifinals against the number 1 ranked guy in the nation, but it was a really tough fight. He gave the kid a run for his money. I believe he's probably the most pro-ready out of all our kids. He's very, very similar to Miguel Cotto. Short, stocky, fast, great combinations, great powerful hook. Very reminds me a lot of Miguel Cotto. We got a kid, Ralph Tahir, 152-pounder. He's got about 20 fights right now. He's very solid fighter. The problem is he's in such a competitive division. There's a lot of tough fights for him, and sometimes, with amateur boxing, you never know how decisions are going to go. He's had a couple of decisions not go his way, but he's a very good fighter, pro style. And actually, we have, I'm trying to think, who else do we have? We have actually Fernelli Feliz's other son, 12-year-old Ali Feliz. He's just a man-child. He's about 5'11", 154 pounds solid. He's 12 years old. He's going to be special, but obviously he's got a ways to go. And we're trying to develop some other kids and hopefully attract other young kids to get involved with the sport.
Yeah, I know your boxing club down there. I know everybody's talking about it. It's a big deal with the Champs Boxing Club. Now, everybody in boxing has heard the name Delvin Rodriguez. And if you're from Connecticut, especially the Danbury area, that's somebody you liked, you watched every fight. I mean, literally, Delvin fought, it seemed like, on ESPN monthly for a long time.
Yeah.
How was your experience with Delvin Rodriguez? I know you were with him from, I think, the Pavel fights up until Cotto. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, I started with him in 2011. Our first fight together was actually the fight of the year on ESPN with Paul Wallach, the first one. Unbelievable fight. And we were together through the Miguel Cotto fight. And Delvin, when I got with him, he was already, pretty much a household name. There wasn't much building for me to do, but definitely a lot of maneuvering to get him some big matches. I mean, we got him, the second Paul Wallach fight, which was on the Cotto Margarito televised undercard. We got him the title fight with Austin Trout back in June of 2012, I think it was. And, of course, obviously we did a lot of maneuvering to get the Cotto fight. Didn't go our way, but you know what? He got paid and had a good experience. And, it was a lot of work. It's a lot of work to manage a guy. There's a lot of things, you got to take into account. But, we had 6 fights together, and we went our separate ways after the Cotto fight, and, I know he's still fighting, and, I wish him well.
Do you have any kind of a relationship with him, or you just kind of went your separate ways and that's that? We kind of had our differences towards the end after the Cotto fight. We had our differences, but it's water under the bridge at this point. It was many years ago, and we were close for a long time. And like I said, I see him from time to time in the area, and we talk. And like I said, boxing is tough because it's just a tough business to be in. It's very hard to stay friendly with people, and a lot of things happen. But like I said, I have nothing bad to say about him. But we just aren't close like we were. But sometimes you got to be able to separate personal from business. Right. He never got the title, but he fought for many. And if you look at who he's fought everybody. So he had a brilliant career. And somebody was saying somewhere that he's got a fight coming up. I think he's got a fight coming up. So, I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm interested. I'll watch it.
Yeah, I mean, he comes to fight. I mean, that much is true. I mean, he's fought a lot of big names, and he's just unfortunately have come up short against some of the bigger fights. But he's had a good career. He's had a very notable career, and like I said, I wish him the best. And I just, as guys get older, I just hope that he the people around him now have his best interests in mind, and he definitely lost a step, obviously, as you get older, and I just want him, health-wise, to be okay in the long run.
Now, were you with him? I'm not going to try to pronounce the guy's last name. He's a Native American from Oklahoma. His first name is George. Were you with him?
Yeah, George Tattenapper.
Yeah,
yes, I was with him during that fight.
Yeah, now he came into that fight. What was he? He was 35-1, or something like that.
Yeah.
And Delvin dominated. I mean, Delvin dominated that. So obviously you can't go by record. And I remember seeing that 35-1. And wow, and I knew nothing about him. And then I researched it. It was all Oklahoma fighter that he fought, but he was with Star Boxing at the time, but that stuck in my mind. I wanted to see if you were with him during that fight.
Yeah, I mean, we took that fight. We had just lost Austin Trout for the what was it, WBA title, and we took a few months off, and we had some offers to take decent sized fights, but I wasn't looking to cash out, and I knew Delvin was coming off a loss, and usually that's when you get the biggest offers, coming off a loss, because a lot of the top guys are looking for what they think are easy wins. But I saw the bigger picture. I knew if we could get another win or two, we'd be right back into a good position. So, Star Boxing offered us the George Tattenapper fight. He had a big record. Obviously, the opposition was really not that great, but you can't take away the fact the guy won that many fights, and you just never know, how a guy is going to look. And, being it was on ESPN and a dominating performance, it was just what we needed at the time.
Yeah, and it drew interest. It actually drew a lot of interest, because I remember everybody was trying to figure out who this guy was. Nobody could pronounce his name. They see 35-1, and even with rough, not the greatest competition. 35-1 this day and age is a great feat. So, there was a lot of interest in that. That's why I was just curious. I wanted to know if you were involved with giving him that fight. And I knew it was with Star, and that fighter is still with Star, and still fights.
Yes, I believe he's still with them. Yeah.
Yeah, and he fights constantly in Oklahoma. So he's a Native American star out there. So, what does AJ Galante do for fun outside of boxing? What's your you have any hobbies outside? I know you're in the gym constantly, but you gotta have some hobbies outside of boxing. I don't have as much free time as I'd like. I definitely wish I had more hobbies, but I'm pretty much a homebody. I like to be home with with my family, and most of my close people are Fernelli Feliz Jr. I mean, I hang around the kids, keep them focused. Play video games. Little stuff. I like to go to the movies, but nothing crazy, nothing. I'm more or less a homebody. I like to be home and around my family, and like I said, sometimes we get on the video games and movies, stuff like that. Yeah. Right now, when you're in the ring or out for a run, what's in your headphones? What gets played on replay in your headphones right now?
Well, I'm Jesus. I get made fun of by all the young kids in the gym. I'm going to be 30 in a few weeks, and to them that's old. So it's funny now that I'm considered an old guy, but I listen to just stuff that I grew up with. DMX, old Jay-Z, Nas, hip hop from the late 90s, early 2000s. That kind of is what I still rock with when I'm training or working out.
Yeah. Do you have any? Is there any plans on? Is there any guys you're going to be managing in the future, or do you have anything on that horizon, or are you just concentrating on the gym and the amateur guys and pushing that whole program?
Well, the thing is, boxing, like any other business, boxing, there's a lot of things shifting in place right now. There's a lot of things that have changed even in the few years since I started working in boxing. There's just a lot of things that change. I get offers all the time to manage guys. I get interest from trainers or people. One thing I will say is I do have a good reputation in the business. People who know me, people who've dealt with me, know that I'm a straight shooter. I'm honest. I take care of people, and I don't jerk anybody around. And I get offers, a lot to manage this guy or that guy. And look, it's a lot of work right now. The way I look at the outlook of pro boxing is it's Al Heyman's world. He's the big fish. He's got most of the guys. And you know what? It's hard to compete. It's hard to recruit talent when you got a guy as successful as Al Heyman who could really get anybody he wants whenever he wants. So right now, it's like a boxing match. 12 rounds. I'm taking a couple rounds off. I'm concentrating on our gym, some of our young kids, and you know what? I hopefully in a few years or a very short amount of time, we'll have a little stable of pro guys, and you take it from there. But I'm definitely interested in doing another pro show sometime next year. And as far as the management goes, I would love to do it again. And if the right situation comes, I definitely would consider it. But I'd definitely be involved one way or the other.
What is your personal opinion on Heyman and PBC? You think it's good or bad for boxing? Like the whole setup, the way they have it now.
Well, I've never personally dealt with Al Heyman on a personal level. He's a very smart businessman. It's really a catch-22. The PBC there's pros and cons to it. There's a lot of benefits of it and a lot of negatives to it. But I got to give the guy credit for it was very ballsy for him to come up with this concept. There's always reports that it's not succeeding financially. It is succeeding. No one really knows but him and the investors, obviously. But I'm just from being in the business from a manager point of view, from seeing it from a promoter side. It could be troublesome because these guys now are getting paid a lot of money to fight bums. Excuse my, I don't like to put anybody down, but these guys are getting paid a lot of money on PBC to fight nobody. And really, it's like anything else, any other business. It sets a precedent. It sets a market, and it's very hard to do little shows. Other promoters are getting squeezed out and priced out because people are seeing these PBC guys get paid a lot of money for nobodies, and they want the same slice of pie. So from a small promoter standpoint, it could be troublesome, but you know what? I think from a fan point of view, the more boxing on TV, the better. It's just you'd like to see a little more competition, and I think eventually you will get that. But I think boxing fans have always longed for having one, sanctioning body, one body of work, just like the UFC. And, I don't think it'll ever happen in boxing, but you never know. I mean, Heyman's doing a good job in trying to, develop something like that. So I wish him the best. I think what he's doing it's good for the fans. It could be a little tough, though, long-term for the business of boxing, though.
Right. Now, a couple things you said in there. You said guys are getting paid an unbelievable amount of money to fight nobodies. But
Sure.
on the other side of that, the nobodies are getting paid better than on any little show they've ever done, and they're getting repeat
absolutely.
business. One example of that is Jason Gavern, who fought Wilder in that ridiculous match where he was gasping for air and everything, and then got a second match on PBC because of that. And Joey Dwayko has also gotten a fight off PBC like that, and there's been a bunch of guys that are the nobodies that are getting huge paychecks, and they're getting repeat business through Al Heyman. So I don't personally like the whole setup, but it's making a lot of guys who wouldn't normally have gotten money. It's making them money, and like I said, Gavern is a prime example of that. I know you saw that Wilder fight where he was gasping for air and asking the ref, for a mask and everything in the middle of the fight, and he turned right around and 3 weeks later was on another PBC card. So
I mean, like I said, from a fighter standpoint, it's very hard to beat being with Al Heyman and being involved doing business with Al Heyman. From a fighter's standpoint, it's really a given. It's a no contest. The problem is whether or not he's making money with this series, and if it's a sustainable, if it's a sustainable way of doing business. Now, if he could sustain doing this and keeping guys paid and keeping it on TV, then it's great. But unfortunately, if it was to all fall and crash, things go back to how it used to be. I mean, there'll be a lot of unhappy people. Like I said, I've never dealt with him personally. I know people who have dealt with him personally who love him. At the end of the day, most people that deal with him have nothing but good things to say. So I wish him the best, and hopefully he's able to sustain it. And for fans, I think it's always good to have boxing regularly on TV, and hopefully that continues as well.
Yeah, and we're getting boxing on totally new channels than we've ever had boxing on before, and it's pretty much weekly now. I personally don't see where he's making money. I personally believe I've looked at it 100 angles. I believe they're losing money, but then again, they're on every week, so the guy.
Like I said,
Top Rank is suffering from that. I know Top Rank is suffering from that, and I know there's a lot of main events is kind of they're cruising on Kovalev. They're not really being hurt. Really by PBC, but guys like Top Rank, he's being hurt by the whole PBC Al Heyman thing. So
look, like we said earlier, boxing is a business, and you know what? Right now, Al Heyman definitely shook things up, and a lot of people are unhappy about it. I could see it from everyone's perspective. One thing about me is I've literally, other than actually boxing, I've literally been in everyone's perspective, so I can see everyone's side of point of view with everything from it being a detriment to the sport, for it being a benefit to the sport. So I see it from every angle. At the end of the day, I just think the more boxing, the better, and hopefully it's just sustainable.
And it's basically, once again, just like what you had mentioned with the WWE. They took over all form of wrestling, put it under one umbrella, basically. I mean, there's not much really anything important other than WWE. They brought it all in, they saturated with it, and, it's one of the biggest things out there, so.
I tell people, someone asked me recently, who's the best promoter in the world? And obviously I knew they were talking about boxing, but the way they worded the question, the best promoter in the world, I said Vince McMahon. I said, you look at the WWE. I've been a diehard, back when it was WWF, but it's just the best promotion out there. It will never die, and it's such a great promotion the way they do it.
Absolutely. AJ Galante, Champs Boxing Club, 128 East Liberty Street in Danbury, Connecticut. You can check them out at champsboxingclub.org and Champs Boxing Club on Facebook and Instagram. AJ, it was great talking to you tonight, and we're going to have you back August 19th and really appreciate it.
I'm looking forward to it, and best of luck with your show. I'm so happy for you and you guys, and yeah, looking forward to coming back.
All right. Thank you very much, AJ.
Great. Talk soon, buddy. Thanks.
Okay, yep. So this is the Hollering with Hammer show. That was AJ Galante from Champs Boxing Club, Danbury, Connecticut. And he's on Instagram and Twitter at Champs, and Facebook at Champs Boxing Club. Now, yeah, he has a lot to say. There is a lot of things going on in boxing, and, people need to check it out. Boxing is a great sport, and AJ is a great guy, and I wanted him on the show from day one when I got this opportunity, and he's going to be continuing on the show. So I'm going to wrap it up tonight, and I'd just like to send a couple quick shout-outs out there. One person that's helped me tremendously, the great Eric LaFleche, and another person that's been helping me out through personal issues that I went through over the last couple of weeks. A friend of mine works at LMB on West Street, the great PJ. Thank you very much. And everybody else who supported me and helped me get to this point. So thank you very much, and I'll see you August 5th, 7 o'clock, Friday. Reverend Bob Levy, Stacey Pressman, CBR Bull Rider Friday Right, along with many more to be announced. This is the Hollering with Hammer show, only on VictoryLaneRadio.com, Victory Lane Radio, on any app store and any app market, and on TuneIn.